And their camping gear. They joined us on a camping trip. The young man and I got into a discussion about canoes. And he said, a dugout is not a canoe. Only the birch bark canoe was a canoe. And I said, no, I don't think so. Why do you say that? Well, he said, the word canoe probably originated with the Northeast Woodland Indians, the birch bark canoe, Quebec. Well, how do you answer that? Well, I said, where did we get the word canoe? Do you know? Well, he didn't know. He thought it was from the Northeast. I said, no. The word was first picked up by Europeans the morning of October 14th, 1492, by Columbus's men. When they woke up in the morning, off the island they were anchored at, they were surrounded by these huge seagoing dugouts paddled by the Arawak natives of the Caribbean, who called their craft canoas. That word was taken back to Europe, and as word of their discovery spread, wherever the Europeans went and saw primitive craft, they called them canoes. This is how we acquired the word and how it's applied to types of canoes all over the world, which are made of every conceivable material man has been able to figure out to use. See? Whether it's bundles of grass, whether it's hide over an open frame, whether it's carved out of a solid log, or made of some kind of bark, But that's how we got, and I tell the story of Chicago's history beginning in 1603. That was the year Samuel de Champlain, the father of New France, is establishing a little colony at the mouth of the St. Lawrence, Port Royal. And he's amazed at how the locals, with their little bark canoes, are just darting zip, zip, zip around their clumsy European boats. And he writes back to France, by adopting the bark canoe of the savage and its network of waterways, we can see everything in 2 years' time. Well, in 1603, he had no inkling of how massive North America was. They had had reports of the Spanish at Panama, 2 months of chopping their way through the jungle on the other side. See? But two things. The French were the only ones that adopted the bark canoe as a mode of travel. Secondly, they discovered the gateway through the mountains, the St. Lawrence.
Yep.
Now, 40 years after he penned those words back to France, Nicolet, the French explorer, steps ashore at Green Bay, a pistol in each hand to awe the natives. He's standing in front of a bunch of half-naked Winnebagos. He's dressed in a Chinese robe. He had hoped he had reached Cathay because he crossed a big water, Lake Michigan. See?
So, yeah.
Now, 1643, when he reaches Green Bay, look how far inland he is. Where is Plymouth Colony, Jamestown, Manhattan? They're still on the seacoast. They're still stuck there. And the French were already that far in because they adopted the canoe. And 30 years after Nicolet, Joliet, who already had experience traveling to western end of Lake Superior and back on a trading mission, is asked by his government in Quebec to explore this rumored river, the Mississippi. Would that be the magic key that would take him to the Pacific? Well, he discovered it headed south because he was trained as a cartographer by the Jesuits. But coming back, he made the most important discovery. The locals showed him a way up the Illinois River, much easier paddling against the current than going up the Mississippi to the Wisconsin, up the Swift, Wisconsin, and back the way he came. And this is where he discovered the rich lands of Illinois. A land so rich, Indians, 5,000, 10,000 and more, could winter in one spot. There was enough game, the land could support them. You couldn't do that in Canada, you see.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And that started our history here.
Mm-hmm. And now look at us now.